The knowledge, effects, and adaptations of the four major plant divisions. The plant kingdom is split up into the four major plant divisions: bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. They are grouped according to their presence or absence of vascular tissue, true and roots, seeds or spores, and fruit. Bryophytes have been grouped according to their lack of vascular tissue, and so they can be classified as non-vascular plants. They also have no true roots and leaves and contain spores for reproduction. It also does not bear any fruit. Pteridophytes, however, contain both xylem and phloem for the transport of water and nutrients, and so can be called vascular plants. They have real roots and leaves, and also use spore for reproduction. They also do not bear any fruit or grow any flowers. Gymnosperms, like pteridophytes, are vascular plants because they contain xylem and phloem for the transport of water and nutrients. They have real roots and leaves, but have seeds instead of spores for reproduction. The seed is located on the open surface of a scale of a female coat, and gymnosperms do not form true flowers or fruits. Angiosperms contain xylem and phloem, and so can be called vascular plants. Unlike gymnosperms, the seeds are found in a fruit, but it also has real roots and leaves. These four divisions are also categorized by their decreasing dependence on water for reproduction. Bryophytes and pteridophytes both need water. Both bryophytes and pteridophytes produce spores. Bryophytes grow in moist places as they have no real roots, and therefore they need a constant and direct water supply. As you can see in the picture below, mosses mainly grow on south-facing rocks or cracks as there is less sun and more moisture, and ferns grow near a water source such as the river or in shady areas. Gymnosperms do not require water. Pollen is dispersed by wind and pollinators, and so they do not need water for fertilization. The seed protects the embryo from drying out. The seed gives nutrients as well to the embryo, which helps early plant growth. Since the sperm no longer need water to fertilize the egg, plants with pollen can reproduce at more times during the year and in drier habitats. Using seeds for protection and nutrition means that seed plants can get to a lot more places, since they won't dry out as they don't need water. Angiosperms also don't require water for fertilization. They do not require water because the stamen releases male gametes, pollen grains, that are carried off by the wind or pollinators to the egg in the carpel. Reproduction takes place in the flower. Reproductive structures of flowers. The male stamen consists of the anther, which produces pollen grains in which the male gametes are found. In the female, the carpel consists of the stigma, style, and ovary. The ovules are the eggs found inside the ovule and develop later into seeds once they are fertilized. How flowers have adapted to be pollinated. Through the use of wind, pollinated plants do not invest in resources that attract pollinating organisms, such as showy flowers, nectar, and scent. Female structures on wind-pollinated plants are able to capture the passing pollen from the air, but the majority of the pollen goes to waste. Plants that use wind for cross-pollination generally have flowers that appear early in the spring, before or as the plant's leaves are emerging. This prevents the leaves from interfering with the dispersal of the pollen from the anthers, and provides for the reception of the pollen in the stigmas of the flowers. Flowers are small and grouped together, and produce very large amounts of pollen. Pollen of wind-pollinated plants are light, smooth, and small. Plants that are wind-pollinated generally occur as large populations so that the female flower have a better chance of receiving pollen. Insects. Adaptations such as bright colors, strong fragrances, special shapes, and nectar guides are used to attract suitable pollinators. Important insect pollinators include bees, flies, wasps, butterflies, and moths. Bees and butterflies are attracted to brightly colored flowers that have strong scent and are open during the day, whereas moths are attracted to white flowers that are open at night. Flies are attracted to more dull brown and purple flowers that have an odor of decaying meat. Nectar guides, which are only visible to certain insects, facilitate pollination by guiding bees to the pollen, the scent of the flower. Insects and flowers both benefit from this specialized symbiotic relationship. Plants are pollinated, while the insects obtain valuable sources of food. How flowers are adapted for pollination. Flowers have developed many different mechanisms for attracting and using birds for pollination. They have developed an abundance of nectar for the birds. The vibrant colors of flowers are also for the attraction of birds, and some flowers have even developed secondary perches for non-hovering birds. Flowers have adapted curved, tubular shapes that birds have to reach down to get some of the flower's nectar. In doing so, pollen from the flower brushes onto the bird's neck and head and can, in the same way, be transferred onto other flowers. Rodents. Flowers have developed odors and colors that are also very effective at attracting certain rodents, such as mice. However, most of the research seems to point at the emphasis of nectar rather than color or odor. In one case, the nectar sample did not have a high sugar concentration, but rather a viscosity of 400 times the amount of an equivalent sugar solution. This is effective for deterring insects that fear being stuck while attracting small rodents, who love the nectar. Certain flowers have also provided labellum for the mice as a food reward. While the mice try to eat the labellum, it pollinates the flower simultaneously. Reproduction. Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction are both uses in plants. Asexual reproduction is the copying of the original organism or cell without needing the opposite sex. Both the copy and the original will contain the same genes, except for rare mutations, and they are therefore clones. Advantages. The advantages of asexual reproduction is that only one parent is needed. Another one is that once an organism is established in a suitable habitat, it is able to reproduce rapidly, and it also requires a lot less energy. The disadvantages, however, are that plants that are genetically identical are not able to adapt to changing environmental conditions. If there is a defect in one of the offspring, that same defect will be passed on to the rest of its offspring. Sexual reproduction involves a male and a female, who both contribute a cell to the making of offspring. When a gamete, a sex cell, unites with the opposite sex gamete, a zygote, a fertilized cell, is made and will grow into a baby animal. The advantages of this is that all offspring vary, and this is optimal for a changing environment, as they are then able to adapt better. This also means that they shall all be unique, and organisms are more protected against diseases. The disadvantages, however, are that two parents are required to reproduce, and it usually takes longer to reproduce. Thank you for watching our video.